Hello and welcome to the Emmy Awards. I'm your host, Emmy Cardinale, and this is my podcast where I talk about what I've been watching or rewatching once a week. If this is the first episode of mine that you stumble upon and you enjoy it, please feel free to follow me wherever you listen to podcasts so you can get notified when I upload a new episode. Subscribe on YouTube if you're listening to this on YouTube. If you've listened to a few episodes, rate and review. That would be nice. Not necessary though. Before I get started, I have a few disclaimers. The first one is that I'm recording this on Friday night, and because of that, I anticipate this episode being a little bit later than usual. My goal was to get the episodes out Sundays, but because I've been covering 3 shows, the episodes have been fairly long, so the editing has been taking me longer, so I've been getting them out on Mondays. I anticipate this episode probably going out Monday evening, maybe Tuesday morning, just because I'm recording it late. Another disclaimer, I am not feeling the best for some personal reasons that I don't really want to talk about on here because I will cry maybe one day when it's not so fresh. I will talk about it. But I had a really bad day, and I almost was like, I don't want to record. But you know what? I could use a distraction for a couple hours, so I'm going to talk about some shows, share my thoughts. Sorry if my voice sounds weird. I have been crying. I'll try to cut out any sniffling or my voice wavering and me sounding dramatic, but because I am emotional, but I'm not emotional about the shows that I'm talking about, so I don't want to seem dramatic if I'm talking about The Summer I Turned Pretty and then my voice is quivering, because it's while I do have emotional reactions to The Summer I Turned Pretty or the other shows that I've been talking about, that's not why I'm emotional. So I don't want it to come across like I'm crying about Belly and Conrad, even though it did make me feel things, but anyways, I just wanted to make that disclaimer because anyways. Sorry if this episode isn't the best one. I'm doing my best to still share my opinion and give my thoughts and everything. Timestamps will be in the description, so if you want to skip to the Big Brother section or The Summer I Turned Pretty, feel free. I'm going to start with Bachelor in Paradise. I enjoyed doing that last time, bookending it with the 2 reality shows I'm covering, so timestamps will be in the description. Okay, so Bachelor in Paradise, this week's episode. I loved this episode. It was one of my favorite Bachelor in Paradise episodes of the season because I think the strategy came out in a really interesting way, in a way that was even more interesting than the previous week, because the previous week it was a big core of it was the personal aspect of it, right? The Bailey, Jeremy, Brian situation obviously impacted the voting, so that felt like that was the main crux of the episode. And then the voting was well, we don't really want to vote for him because of what he did personally. And I really liked that this week's episode of Bachelor in Paradise, there was a lot of strategy, but it was a lot more, it didn't have anything to do with interpersonal conflicts in the same way. It was just fascinating to me because basically they did a challenge, and I really liked this challenge too because it was pure strategy. It was a scavenger hunt type thing, and I really liked this. I liked some couples did better than others. Some strong couples did well. Some couples that seemed strong didn't do as well. It was a very interesting challenge. And then Spencer and Jess won. But they just won safety. They didn't win the power to vote people out or to give roses the last episode when Bailey got the rose. I wonder if they did that to add some kind of suspense with the Brian of it all. I don't really know. I don't know, but I really liked that it was a house vote because it very much felt like people were campaigning, people were strategizing. And I have to say, it's really interesting. I think especially because it's similar to Bachelor Pad, but it's tonally very different from Bachelor Pad because, and I said I liked this, and I have to say I do like this in theory, but I don't know if strategy-wise I'm enjoying it as much as I enjoyed Bachelor Pad, because I think strategy-wise the format of them forming couples and then it becoming a game has greatly impacted the strategy aspect, because people came into Bachelor Pad knowing there was money and it being purely a game, whereas because it was about strong couples and forming connections, now there are people who want to keep the couples around because don't want to vote out people who are genuinely connected, where I wish there was just pure strategy and it was like, I want to win at the end. Anyways, but it was interesting because basically there were a few people, most of the couples in the house are romantic. And because of that, a lot of the couples that are in romantic pairings want to keep the other couples that are also in romantic pairings. Because of this, the two main people that were on the chopping block, because it was like they could vote and 2 couples were going home. So basically 2 couples were on the chopping block. It was Kathy and I don't remember his name. I'm so sorry. Keith, was it Kathy and Keith? I'm so sorry if that's not his name, but they were, because they're not romantic. And then Jonathan and Leah. I'm so sorry if I'm mispronouncing her name. I've forgotten which way it's pronounced. I'm really so sorry. Not that she's ever gonna listen to this podcast, but like, I promise, girl, I'm not trying to mispronounce your name. I'm having like such a horrible day that I can't really recall much information. I'm so sorry. But anyways, I love her. Basically, they were the main couples that were on the chopping block. Sean decided that he really wanted to play hard. And because he wanted to play hard, he tried to like strategize. He threw Spencer's name out there of like, Spencer and Jess are a strong couple. We need to get them out, which like, they're safe this week. So that's kind of stupid. Like, this would be as if like, if you watch Big Brother, it would be as if somebody has the veto, so they can't be nominated, and you're talking about getting them out next week to one of their allies. It's like, why? And they have the veto, so they could in theory take somebody off the block and then you could go up. Like, I don't know, it was very like, their allies, the HOH or something, or one of their one of their allies is HOH, and they have the veto, so you're talking about getting them out to the HOH. So then they end up like getting you on the block instead. Like, it was so stupid. It was so stupid. Sean was not like a name at all, but because he was playing so hard and clearly like didn't know how to read the room, because he went to like Andrew and was trying to talk about Spencer. It's like, they're roommates. They have like a loyalty to each other. They're also both in romantic couples. Like, it was a stupid move. He played really sloppily. And because of that, him and Alicia, I'm so sorry, I forgot how to pronounce her name as well. Anyways, I think it's Alicia. Anyways, she is partnering up with Sean. They become an option simply because of the fact that he is really, really playing way too hard and being really stupid. And also, I would like to say, kind of exposed himself. I mean, like, maybe he doesn't care, but he kept talking about his dad as a politician. So naturally, people looked up his dad, and like, not only is his dad a MAGA Republican, which like, flop already, okay, but that being said, there is a base of the Bachelor franchise that is Republican and probably MAGA. So like when Juliana from Grant season, like, it was revealed that she was MAGA, like, there were people obviously defending her and being like, who cares who she voted for, because obviously they're probably MAGA too, or at least, like, whatever. Like, that's not I mean, it's a red flag to me. That would immediately, not that I liked Sean, but that would immediately, but not only is his dad like a MAGA Republican, he has been involved in like quite a few controversies that it's like, why would you be proud? Like, why would you talk about your dad on a national scale when people are then going to look up your dad and see all of the allegations against him, the like horrendous things he said to staffers? I think he's like physically assaulted a staffer. He like sexually allegedly assaulted a staffer. Like horrendous things where it's like, why are you talking about your father that way? Also, your dad doesn't seem to be like that good of a politician, because like a lot of politicians are like horrible people, but like a good politician, not a good person, but a good politician is a horrible person, and they're still able to convince you that they're a good person. Clearly you didn't, like, clearly you did learn from your father, and he's just a bad politician because he was a horrible person in a very sloppy way, just like you. So you know what? The apple doesn't fall too far from the tree in that regard. I'm not accusing you of being physically violent. I don't know you. So, like, I'm not saying the apple doesn't fall far from the tree in that regard. But in terms of, like, not being able to politic well and rally votes and, like, you know, clearly you did actually get that kind of political sense from your father, because he doesn't seem to be too good at remaining in power. So, anyways, Sean, already red flag, don't like him. So, like, he becomes a target because of the fact that he starts playing really hard. His partner, Alicia, I'm so sorry. Anyways, she takes this really personally, that, like, people who are her friends are considering voting her out, when it's like, it's not about that. Like, it's not that they don't like you. You should be mad at Sean. And, like, she was mad at Sean, but then she took it so personally. And again, I think there's something different about the fact that people didn't go into this knowing that it was going to be, like, a competition in the exact way that it's become, because it's like Bachelor in Paradise of the past was just like you couple up, and there's maybe competition if you're, like, in a love triangle, but there's not competition in terms of, like, people will vote you out, you know, like, they didn't go into it knowing that it was going to be, like, that kind of thing. So, like, maybe she didn't have, like, the mindset, but I don't know, maybe it's because I watch too much reality TV and I really like reality competition shows specifically. But I feel like if I went into it and I suddenly found out it was a competition, I would be like, okay, it's a game. Obviously, there are limits, but in this regard, I'd be like, okay, my partner kind of screwed us. It's not even that they, like, it's not about me, it's about him. I would feel better. I'd be like, you know what, if I'm leaving, at least it's not my own fault, okay? So, like, she took it really personally and, like, got offended as if they were, like, rejecting her as a friend because they wanted to vote out her couple when her partner was literally going after, like, them and playing, like, really, really badly. Like, he would be a liability, because if Spencer knows he wants to get him out, then Spencer's not gonna, like, deal with that. And the people who are aligned with Spencer, which is, like, all the people, like, he did a horrible job. And honestly, him going home was deserved. At the rose ceremony, at the end, it's between those three main couples, but also Parisa and Brian are, like, a name, because people are still kind of, like, residually mad at Brian. Did I use that word correctly? I don't even know. The people are still mad at Brian about the whole Parisa, the whole Bailey thing. So he's a name. But basically, before, like, the last rose is given out, Kathy gets, like, the second to last rose. And then before the last rose is given out, Alicia and Sean, like, remove themselves. And the final rose goes to Jonathan and Leah. So Parisa and Brian go home, as do Sean and Alicia. Which, like, okay, I was sad that Parisa went home. I'm interested to see if Parisa and Brian are still together. I don't know, because I find, like, there are a lot of things I don't like about him, and I don't know if he's the right partner for her. But I also think that most couples, and maybe I'm wrong, and I've never been in a relationship, but I feel like a good amount of couples, if you edited down every bad moment of theirs, you could. I just don't want to write people off and write a relationship off based off of an edited TV show. So I just, like, I don't want to say, it's the same reason that I, to a different degree, but it's kind of similar to why I defended Jeremy, because I'm like, we don't actually know the interworkings of their relationship, you know? And I think it's good that she found out on the show. So if they did end the show together, she had most of the information, if not all of it. And they worked past it. And if they're still together, then, like, they've been together a few months outside of the Paradise bubble. So at this point, like, they're a real solid couple beyond just, like, the environment. Because obviously, like, there's a dynamic that is formed when you're on the show that changes when you're outside. That, like, if people are, like, still together a couple months in, then they've lived quite a lot of their lives in terms of, like, their relationship outside of TV. So I'm like, I don't know. I don't like writing people off. But I don't know if Parisa and Brian are still together. Like, the one couple that I feel pretty certain that are still together is Jeremy and Bailey. I don't know any official spoilers, but, like, they have been in, like, the same place. And also just the way that she kind of, like, I mean, maybe not. Maybe she just has a lot of respect for him either way. But I feel like the way she's talked about the show, they've both talked about the show after very much comes across as like we're a united front and like we work through this together. Like they seem like they're together, and I wish them the best. But yeah, I have to say, of the people, I think I'd be less upset about like Parisa and Brian going home if like Kathy and Keith hadn't stayed. I'm glad that Jonathan and Leia stayed because I really like them. She's so funny. They're great entertainment. They're very much like, I want to play the game, and they're like pretty okay at challenges. Like they're good. I like them as a duo, and honestly, if they won, I would be thrilled. Do I think they're gonna win? I don't really know. I feel like they would have to comp out, like they'd have to like win a lot of challenges, because I do think the romantic couples are going to end up like sticking together. And I also think Kathy and Keith, they're the other non-romantic couple, and I don't think that they're gonna last very long. So I feel like Jonathan and Leia will be on like an island by themselves. So I don't know if they're gonna last long, but I love her on the show. I wasn't the biggest fan of her on Joey's season, but I find her really funny on this season. And I've always liked her social media. Like after her season aired, I enjoyed her social media presence. So, and I don't remember how I talked about, I think I got a little bit heated with the Maria whatever situation, because I don't like when people are called bullies. Like I feel like the word bullying was used a lot, and I hate when the word bullying is used in the ways that it was. But like, I don't have anything against her personally, and if I was harsh at the time, I apologize. I do enjoy her social media and her on Paradise, so I hope she stays around longer. I'm really glad that she did. Like, I don't know, Kathy and Keith, there's like the last golden couple left, and of all the golden couples that we could have still had, they're like kind of the worst ones to be left. Not because I don't like Kathy and I don't like Keith, but because they're not, like, we had a decent amount of golden couples that like had more of a romantic interest, where it's like Kathy and Keith at this point, it's like Leia and Jonathan, at least too, they seem like on the same page about the game, where like Kathy and Keith had a conversation in this last episode where he was kind of like not viewing it as much as a game, and the money and that mattering to him as much as it was for her. So it's just like, I don't even think they're good partners in terms of like playing the game. So I don't know, but that's my opinion on Bachelor in Paradise. Not that long, but I didn't have much to say. Moving on to The Summer I Turned Pretty, episode 7. I loved this episode. I was screaming, crying, throwing up like throughout the whole thing. It was so good. I'm loving this season. I liked seasons 1 and 2, but I have to say, I think there's something about like the engagement and the point where they are in their lives that like the stakes feel so much higher. First season was sweet and it was lighthearted and it was like a teen romance, but the stakes weren't that high, in my opinion. Like, you know what I mean? So in that regard, like the stakes are just so much higher in a way that I really, really like. It's like marriage. It's like the relationships have so much more weight. I think I also, the older I get, the more I relate. This is just natural to things in the college age range, where as like high school is like, you know, feels so far away from me. Now I'm like 26. So I relate to that more and it like resonates with me more. But I also like, I don't know, there's just something about this season that has got me a lot more engaged than past seasons. And I don't remember very clearly if they did like weekly drops last time. And if that is part of it, then like I'm a huge fan of the weekly drops. I think too, I'm on TikTok a lot more now, and on like, I wasn't really on TikTok in 2023 that much when this season was airing. And I also like wasn't engaging in discourse, because when season 2 started coming out, I like made a decision on this podcast that I didn't want to talk about scripted TV because SAG and the Writers Guild were on strike. And so people in like actors and writers couldn't speak about their projects. So I didn't want to cover projects that were not being able to be talked about by the people who produce them. So I didn't talk about it at all on the podcast or on TikTok. I was so much more locked in this season than I was before, and I don't know what it is. I think it's something with the stakes. I think I'm a lot more invested in the relationships. I think maybe there's also something about like knowing that our end game is coming, where like people, I remember after season 1, I liked Conrad more than I liked Jeremiah. Something about Jeremiah just didn't sit right with me. sorry, that's just my truth. And season 2, I saw a lot of people being like, this is going to be worse for Conrad. So I think I was more anxious, which honestly, I thought Conrad came across better in season 2 than he did in season 1. Just because we had a lot more context. Conrad just seemed kind of moody in season 1, which whatever. That didn't bother me that much. Anyways, I don't need to share my thoughts on the first 2 seasons. This episode I really liked. It's like right before the wedding. Last we left off was Belly cleaning Conrad's wound, which was like iconic. And we pick up and she's like, I'm marrying Jeremiah Fisher in 2 days. What the fuck, Belly? Sorry. And first she has Juno on her playlist with like Jeremiah. I'm like, okay. Like the song. I'm just like, okay, girl. Do you think that this is another Easter egg of like somebody's pregnant? Because I've seen a lot of people being like, Taylor's pregnant, which I have to say, I feel like the people who thought Taylor was pregnant and they were like, she didn't drink at the Bachelor, she didn't drink at the bridal shower. She did drink at the bachelor party, right? I'm not misremembering no, because she wasn't the one who got the shot. So it's not like, I don't know. Like she was drinking. All those people who are like, Taylor's pregnant. I don't think Taylor's pregnant. Not that this show couldn't end with somebody being pregnant, but I just don't think Taylor is pregnant currently the way people were theorizing. But anyways, so she's marrying Jeremiah, flop, loser. There were a lot of moments this episode that just furthered my anti-Jeremiah crusade, if you will. I really don't like Jeremiah. I haven't liked Jeremiah. If you are team Jeremiah, like, I fear this podcast is just not for you. We view the show very differently, and that's okay. Like, if there's one thing I've really realized about, like, because I do sometimes pop into what the Team Jeremiah people are saying, just because I grew up watching The View, you know? I really like to hear differing opinions about important topics. That was a joke. Not that I used to watch The View. I did. I don't anymore. I stopped watching The View when I got older because I was like the liberal people on the panel. I was like, they're not even like, they're not progressive enough for me. Like, they don't have any like real progressives, in my opinion. But anyways, sorry, you don't care about I was trying to make a joke and then I went overboard by trying to explain it by talking about me watching The View. Anyways, but I do genuinely like to check in on how people interpret things that I don't like. And for the most part, I don't really get that upset about like people's interpretations of shows if I disagree with them, because I watch shows very critically and I really like analyzing and thinking about, and like, you know, like I really like analyzing shows. So I feel very confident most of the time. There are some shows where I'm like, I wasn't thinking about it that deeply and I don't have like that firm of an opinion. And then in that regard, I don't really care about people's opinions if I disagree with them, because I'm like, I don't have a strong enough opinion to care. But when I do have a strong enough opinion, it's because it's based off of stuff. Like in my brain, it's like based off of data. It's based off of the text, which I am analyzing. So I don't really mind people having different opinions about a show that I have a very strong opinion about, because I'm like, I could write an essay about my opinion with like supporting data points. You know what I mean? Like, I feel very strongly about my opinion. So I don't care if you analyze the show differently. I have some limits. Like, I really take issue with the way some people analyze Yellow Jackets, because I feel like people are really ableist towards Lottie, or I feel like people minimize Shauna's like postpartum experience a lot of the time. So like there are limits for me when I feel like it like ventures into like bigotry in some way, or just like I don't know. That's where it crosses a line for me, where I'm like, I do get genuinely angry or upset about the way some people talk about like Lottie Matthews' mental illness, because I think that the way we talk about illnesses, like mental illnesses in media, impacts the way we view real life mentally ill people. That's just my opinion. So like I do have limits, but for the most part, I don't really get mad at Team Jeremiah people, because what I've come to realize is that they interpret scenes very differently than the way I do. And that's fine, because I feel very confident and comfortable in like supporting my opinion with like data. And if there's anything I've learned is people just analyze the show differently, because I will watch a scene of Jeremiah and I'll be like, he seems creepy, and people are like, that was romantic. So it's like, and I'm sure they feel the same way. I see Conrad pouring his heart out to Belly and I'm like, that is romantic. And people think that he looks like Joe Goldberg. Like, we view the show very differently, so that's fine. My point in saying that is that if you were Team Jeremiah and you view the show very differently in that regard, then like you're just not gonna like what I say because I just view it very differently. Anyways, sorry for all that annoying disclaimer, but like I just don't like Jeremiah. Okay, I the things he does irk me. His whole demeanor irks me. He just irks me. I'm not a fan of Jeremiah. Anyways, moving on. So the whole way he acted during the bachelor party upset me. Like, Belly is very hesitant about like weed, and then he like doesn't care about smoking it in the house or being considerate. It really, really genuinely angered me to an extent that I cannot properly put into words. The fact that he got like, say what you want about Conrad's confession scene, which I do think obviously objectively it is very selfish and like it's a little weird to confess your feelings for your ex, your brother's fiance, whatever, like right before the wedding. I get that. Okay, that was a very selfish, crazy thing to do. But like, it's just especially funny to me the way it happened in the show, because from my understanding, I haven't read the books, but from my understanding, maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. If somebody's read the book, they can correct me. But like in the book, I don't know if Jeremiah and Belly had a plan to meet out at the beach, because I listened to like an audiobook of that scene. I saw a TikTok of somebody like acting it out with like the audiobook and the sound in the background. And in the audiobook, she sees that Conrad's on the beach, and she goes and she approaches Conrad. Like, she goes to the beach knowing Conrad's there, and they have a conversation. In the show, she goes to the beach because she had a plan with Jeremiah, and she thinks that it's Jeremiah, but it's Conrad. So like, that feels different to me. Like, in the book, she went to have a conversation with Conrad. In the show, Jeremiah was supposed to be there and he wasn't. So I'm like, if Jeremiah was like reliable and consistent, then like that wouldn't have happened. Sorry. Like, if Jeremiah hadn't gotten super drunk, then Belly would have met him on the beach and Conrad wouldn't have said that. And like, would maybe Conrad have said that at a different time? Maybe. Like, I'm not saying that Conrad wouldn't have confessed or told Belly or all of those things, but I do think that there's something to be said about the fact that Jeremiah getting drunk is what led to many of the events, because Conrad overhears in the bar. Sorry. This isn't a recap. I'm just sharing my opinion, so I'm jumping all over the place. But like, at the bar, Conrad overhears about the Lacey situation. He gets angry. Jeremiah goes to puke in the bathroom. Conrad follows him, but sees that he's puking, so he doesn't confront him. Jeremiah gets so drunk that he passes out when he gets home, and doesn't show up for his plan that he had with Belly, which they literally had a conversation about before, where she was like, we should take it easy. They had a conversation where it was like, I want to meet up, and she was like, let's take it easy. He gets too drunk, doesn't show up. He gets so drunk that Conrad doesn't confront him. Like, if the situation happened because it wasn't like Jeremiah let that slip because he was super drunk. So if Jeremiah, in theory, hadn't gotten that drunk, Conrad still would have found out that information, but maybe Conrad would have then confronted Jeremiah about it before like talking to Belly about it. Like, in another universe where Jeremiah doesn't get super drunk, he and Belly meet at the beach. Conrad doesn't have a conversation with her that night because they don't happen to be at the same place at the same time. And Conrad talks to Jeremiah first. Belly and Jeremiah meet at the beach. They have their nice little date. Conrad confronts Jeremiah. I'm not saying it's Jeremiah's fault that Conrad confessed his feelings to Belly, because that was his own decision, and like, have your own opinions about whether that was good or bad. I don't really care. But things would have gone a lot differently if Jeremiah hadn't fucked up there, as he does frequently. Like, I'm sorry. I got really angry. I get it, and I'll defend Belly because I think it's reasonable. I think it's reasonable if somebody you loved and you like and was very like distant when you were together, regardless of why he was distant, because I will defend Conrad in that regard, because you know what it is. It's like, and maybe this is an unpopular opinion, but people are always like, I'm not team Conrad because I've dated a Conrad. I'm team Conrad because I empathize with Conrad. I'm team Jess because I empathize with Jess, and I see myself in each of their characters in different ways. And Jess and Conrad are not the same. I'm not trying, like, I know that there's like people, a lot of whatever, but like, I empathize with Conrad. I see myself and the ways that I have hurt people and withdrawn and not been there and like not shown up for the people I care about who I normally would. I want to show up for them, but I'm unable to because I'm in pain. Like I understand that pain and depression and like I understand that, and I've never even lost a parent, so like I don't understand that kind of grief which leads to depression, or like pre-grieving in the way that he was in season 1 and season 2 and everything. Like I understand being so in pain that you are not your best self to those you care about. So like I have a lot of empathy for him because I don't think that the ways he hurt Belly are because he's just a bad boyfriend or a bad partner. I think it's genuinely out of pain. And I think the fact that it's clear that there's a change in his behavior and sees that like he was always nice to Belly and then he was out of character in season 1. And then when we find out why, it's like, I don't know. I understand. And maybe that's like an unpopular opinion. And I think that if I was with somebody who was struggling, I'm not saying that it wouldn't impact me. I'm just saying that I have a lot of compassion for not being your best self or showing up the best for other people when you're going through a hard time. And I wouldn't want to be written off as a bad romantic partner or a bad sister or friend because of the ways that I've fallen short for people in moments of deep pain. Like I really wouldn't want that to define who I am in a relationship, because I think that you can move past that. Like I don't know, I have a lot of empathy for Conrad, but why was I even on that? I don't even remember. I don't remember why I went on that tangent. Oh, okay, I remember now, because it bothered me when Belly said, I put up with a lot worse from you, because I don't, and I guess everybody has definitions of worse, but like, and a lot of people have talked about this, and this isn't an original thought, but like, obviously the reason, or my interpretation, people who, view the show the same way I do, the interpretation is that it felt worse to Belly because she loved Conrad more deeply, and I do believe that. And I saw a really, really, really smart TikTok where somebody was like, Belly's reaction to Jeremiah cheating and the way she let it go is meant to parallel that conversation that she had with Conrad in season 2, where she talks about how she thinks that if her dad had cheated on her mom wouldn't have even cared because she was like that. And I think that's so, I completely forgot about that, but I think it's true. I think there's something about Conrad withdrawing from Belly that hurt more because his love, like, I don't know. I was listening to Scared of My Guitar today by Olivia Rodrigo, and I've mentioned this before, but like that song to me really does feel so Belly and Jeremiah coded, because I really think it's like, and I think in an ideal world, you can have both. You can have like that deep passion for somebody, and you can also have like safety and security. And I just don't think that, and I think also, and I made a TikTok about this, follow me on TikTok, but I made a TikTok about this, but I disagree with Belly's assessment that Jeremiah doesn't take his love away from her when things get hard, because we literally see in the beginning of this season that they have an argument, and it always bothers me that people who defend Jeremiah say, well, they were broken up. If you want to say they were broken up, then say he broke up with her, because that's what happened. That's what happened. She reasonably was like, why are you going to Cabo without telling me? That's a little bit weird. They get into a fight. They're a little bit mean to each other, okay? Like, somebody commented on that TikTok I made about, like, Jeremiah doesn't take his love away from her, being like, Belly threw his relationship with his dad in his face. Yeah, that's a fight. It's mean. But, like, if you think that Jeremiah calling it off in that moment is okay because Belly said something mean about his dad, but then Conrad withdrawing isn't okay, when objectively what he was going through was worse than like one insult in a fight. Was it a mean jab? Yeah, okay. But also, like, rewatch that fight. It wasn't like Belly out of nowhere was like, you can't do anything. You have an inferiority complex. He was like, sorry that I'm not perfect. And she was like, don't put your inferiority complex on me. So, like, I'm going to stand beside Belly in that situation. He brought his inferiority complex up first. Like, whatever. They get into a fight. He says, let's end it. He does walk away. He thinks that's a breakup. They get into a fight and he assumes they've broken up. again, he initiated it. He said, let's end it. He also got like angry with her first because she dared to be upset that he was going to Cabo without, like, oh God, that conversation, that fight, that breakup, whatever you want to call it, pisses me off so badly and really makes me like, just adds to my data of why I don't like Jeremiah Fisher, because it's like, she reasonably is like, you're going to Cabo, you didn't tell me. And he like, oh, okay, sorry, I don't need to, but anyways, he did take his love away from you, and then he slept with somebody else, and then he came crawling back being like, oh, I thought I was gonna lose you. It's like, you didn't think you were gonna lose me, you tried to push me away, you slept with somebody else, and now you came crawling back. Like, I just don't, that bothers me. That bothers me, and I understand, because like, apparently her narration in the book, she's saying anything she can to get Conrad to like not feel the way that he does about her. In the way that Conrad pushed Belly away because he didn't want to hurt her, she's pushing Conrad away because she can't, in this moment, be with him because of the context of the situation. Like, I get it, I understand that. But like, the fact is that people who are Team Jeremiah like really cling on to that, and they're like, see, she says that he treated her worse. Jeremiah treats her so well. Jeremiah doesn't take his love away. That's exactly what Conrad does that we don't like about it. But it's like, if you don't like that about Conrad, then why are you okay with Jeremiah doing it? That's been my argument from the beginning, is I can understand and respect people who see Conrad and who he was in his relationship with Belly and say, I don't really think she should be with him. I don't understand how those people then think Belly should be with Jeremiah, that her and Jeremiah are good together. That doesn't make any sense to me. Like, that is where the people lose me. Because more, like, if you don't think Conrad is a good partner to her because of the ways he failed to show up for her when they were together 4 years ago when they were teenagers and he was going through a hard time, then why on earth do you think that the way Jeremiah shows up for Belly in their early 20s is a good partner? Like, that is where the people lose me. Like, what do you mean? What do you mean? That doesn't make any sense to me. Like, he pouts, she settles, she concedes constantly. Like, people who are Team Jeremiah are like, they have a healthy dialogue. Genuinely, what show are you watching if you view it that way? Like, that, I feel very confused. Because I don't think they have a healthy dialogue. She expresses that she's upset. He will like pout or like they don't have a healthy dialogue. They don't resolve conflict. You know what a healthy dialogue would have been? If she said, I don't really know if I want to go to Paris. And he would have been like, why? Let's explore that. Like, Paris means a lot to you. No, he immediately is like, yeah, I didn't really want you to go either. They don't have a healthy dialogue. I'm sorry, they don't. She's like, we can't afford the cake. And he's like, I'll put it on a credit card. She immediately expresses hesitancy about the wedding. And he's like, but this is really important to my dad. Again, for the second time, she expresses hesitancy about the wedding on the phone when she's like, this is so big. Why do we have so many guests? And he's like, it's important. My dad's just excited. He doesn't prioritize Belly. He doesn't. I'm sorry. Jeremiah is a very inconsiderate person. We even find out this episode that like he's considering taking a job with his dad and then doing the fall semester, like his last semester or spring semester, whatever semester. I think the next fall, the fall semester that his extra semester that he's taking, doing it online so he can work for his dad's company. But Belly canceled Paris for you. Like, he's not a considerate, emotionally intelligent, healthy communicator. He's just not. Like, if you genuinely see their dynamic and see Belly consistently conceding and not doing what she wants, and Belly, to me, from my perception, clearly seems unable for some reason to have a healthy dialogue with Jeremiah where she asserts herself, because when she does, he doesn't like take a moment to listen. It's always about his feelings. Jeremiah is a deeply inconsiderate person. He just is. Like, what do you mean that the first thing she asks after you threw a temper tantrum about the cake? Belly's like, we can't afford the cake. And you're like, we're getting the cake one way or another, even if I'll put it on a credit card. Like, it's not like, oh, okay, we can't. That's okay. Like, she says we can't afford it. And you're just like, no, but I'm going to get the cake anyway. Okay, there's no compromise when it's something you want. Then you bring up the fact that the wedding is going to be at a country club. Belly's like, or no, that's not even what happened. Sorry. I'm so angry that I can't even think straight. He's like, my dad wants to pay for it. And she's like, is he cool with us doing it in the house? Because doing it in the house is important to Belly. You know what he says? Actually, it's at the country club. And my dad wants to invite people. And she's like hesitant about that. And he's like, my dad was trying with me. And so immediately what does she do? She doesn't want to like upset him. Like that is manipulative. That she immediately is like, I don't really know if I want to do that. She says, hey, I don't think we can afford the thing you want. And he says, well, I'm going to do it regardless. Then she says, I don't really know if I want to do it that way. That's not what I wanted. He's like, well, me. My dad is trying with me. And this means a lot to me. Like there's no consideration for her feelings. They have a conversation where he initiates being like, I don't feel like we're spending any time together, which they were literally like, if he wanted to spend more time with her, he could have prioritized spending time with her during the day. Okay. He was having fun with his boys. And then because he's a jealous dumbass, sorry, I'm so angry for no good reason. But you know what? I've had a really bad day. So let me just hate on a fictional character, okay, for like 30 minutes. I'm angry at the universe. Let me take that out on Jeremiah Fisher. He's not real. Anyways, where was I? Okay, he sees Belly and Conrad having a conversation, and he gets all weird, and he's like, I feel like I've barely seen you, and she's like, I've been right here. If he wanted to spend more time with her, he could have. It wasn't about him missing her during the day. It was about him feeling weird and possessive because she had a conversation with Conrad, okay? That whole scene in the bedroom made me deeply uncomfortable. I don't even want to talk about it, but it's just like, I don't know. I feel like he wasn't reading her cues, because if I was kissing somebody, well, first it's like, sit down on the bed. She does. Then he's like, give me a kiss. She does. He starts kissing her and she's like, I want to do my hair. You know what I would take that as? I'm not really in the mood. Or I'd be like, that's okay. I'd be like, okay, we don't have to do anything if you want to, though. You know what I mean? He never once was like, we don't have to do anything, but if you want to. Like, there was no, do you want to do this? She hesitated. Yeah, she didn't hesitate by being like, no, I don't want to do this, but she hesitated. And instead of being like, oh, okay, like checking in that she wasn't hesitating because she wasn't in the mood to do something physical, he's just like, we have time. He doesn't read into things. He doesn't take her cues. Whatever. Sorry. I really don't like him. They have a conversation. She's like, let's meet up. And she's like, let's take it easy, right? Okay. Because he hears that she got drunk, he doesn't like, and yes, okay, people who defend Jeremiah are like, his friends kept pushing him. But I am sorry. There were years I didn't drink in college. And yes, it is sometimes, I actually have to say, I can't even, because I wasn't really peer pressured. I remember one time when I was like not drinking, somebody offered me a drink and I was like, no, thank you. And then they came up to me after and they apologized and they were like, I'm so sorry. I didn't know that you didn't drink. Because one of my friends had like, it had come up later where somebody was like, oh, should we get Emmy something? And my friend had been like, oh, Emmy doesn't drink. And they came up to me and they apologized after and they were like, I wasn't trying to pressure you. I didn't know. And I'm like, no, you're completely fine. I didn't feel pressured. Like, I just said no and I moved forward. Because it wasn't a like, come on, drink. Like, you're not being fun. It was like, oh, we're getting drinks. Do you want to drink? And I was like, no, I'm not drinking. Which I'm not sober. I just went through a period where I didn't drink in college. That's a long story. Anyways, it was only like 2 years. Anyways, that's really not important. But there was a time in college when I didn't drink. And I didn't even feel peer pressured. So like maybe I'm not the one to talk because I'm like, I actually didn't experience peer pressuring. But I just feel like I've been peer pressured for other things. And I feel like if something really mattered to me, especially if I was like right now, like if I went out right now and I had one drink and I was like, I don't want to drink anymore. And somebody was like, no, I mean, have another drink. I'd be like, respectfully, I don't need to get that drunk. Like, I don't need to get that drunk. Okay, I had a few drinks. We're good. Why do we need to? I don't even think, and I don't know, because maybe he did and I missed it. But, like, I don't even think he was like, no, but I have my plan with Belly. He was like, Belly and I said we were going to take it easy. And somebody was like, but Belly's really drunk. It was never like, okay, guys, you're right. I can still have fun, but I want to meet my plan with Belly. I don't even know if he brought it up ever again. Then he got so drunk that he didn't show up. That's inconsiderate. Like it's like a consistent pattern with Jeremiah, and this is why I don't like him, that I don't feel like Belly's feelings are a priority. Like, I am sorry, you're getting married and your bride has, like, your fiance has many times expressed doubts about, like, the way the wedding looks, and you're not like, okay, we don't have to do it this way. Like, okay, let's do it the way that you want. I cannot imagine getting married to somebody, even if I, like, was marrying a man, which, like, who knows if I will marry a man. I kind of hope not, but maybe that's the only way I can get married. Sorry, not funny. But I can't imagine, regardless of who I'm marrying, like if I'm marrying another woman or I'm marrying a man, like I can't imagine them being really upset about the way the wedding looks, and like me as somebody who like loves them and wants to spend the rest of my life with them, which is what a wedding is supposed to be. It's supposed to be commemorating the fact that I want to commit my life to a person. I can't imagine like not being like if they multiple times were like, I don't know if this wedding is how I want it to be, being like, just look at me. Like, I would be like, okay, I'll talk to my dad. We don't need to invite that many people. Or like, even if I was Jeremiah and I really wanted to prioritize, like, still make my dad happy, I'd be like, what if we do a small ceremony, just us at the house, like just us and our closest friends at the house before, so we can have our own little, just us thing. And then the wedding will just be like a party. And it won't be like I don't know, like any kind of compromise. He doesn't prioritize her feelings in a way that really bothers me. Like, I'm sorry, he doesn't. He's like rushing through. Like his bad credit score is why they can't get the apartment that she wanted. Then he's rushing through and he's like, yeah, any apartment's fine, Belly. It doesn't really matter. And she's like, come on, it does matter. And like, I don't know. I don't like him. I don't think he's considerate. Or like the way she talks about her relationship with Jeremiah, I'm like, what Jeremiah Fisher are you talking about? Because he does not consider you. He does not treat you amazing. He just doesn't. He doesn't. Like, he is a man-child who like doesn't show up for you, doesn't consider you, doesn't prioritize you. It's not just the cheating thing. Like, if it was like, because yeah, technically he didn't think he was cheating, whatever. He's not a good partner to her. He's not in what we've seen, especially not this season. The way, he's also not like a responsible person. Like, he's not. I can't imagine being married to that man. I'm sorry. Like, I feel like Jeremiah Fisher is the exact reason that you shouldn't get married. Most times, okay, I know it's not like a one-size-fits-all, but I think overwhelmingly there is no good reason why you need to get married before the age of 25. I'm sorry. Let your brain cook a little bit longer, okay? Because if there's one thing I've learned, is that really, that does matter. That frontal lobe thing, they're not lying about that. And do I still think that I will be more mature at 30 than I am at 26? Yes, but I do think there is something like very true about the way your brain works and like maturity levels and impulse control and everything. Feel it in my brain, okay, that I have aged. I just don't think there's any reason you need to get married that young. I'm sorry. Commit to each other, live together, be life partners without signing a legally binding contract that like binds you to that person. I hope, at least for her sake, she has a prenup. I mean, obviously she's not getting married to him, but like, anyways, if I was Belly, this is diabolical. I don't think she should actually do this. This is just a joke because I hate Jeremiah. If I was Belly, I would marry him, put a clause, make sure we have a prenup, and have a clause in the prenup that if he cheats on me, I get the house. I get the beach house, just me. Because he cheated on me or whatever. I don't know if it's a clause you can have in a prenup. I would do that. And then we'd get into a fight and he would sleep with somebody and he'd be like, I thought we were on a break. And I'd be like, fuck you, bitch. Give me the beach house. Anyways, I also want to say, somebody commented on my TikTok where I was like, he did take his love away from her. I said at the first sign of a fight, and somebody was like, they were together for 4 years. Like, what do you mean the first sign of a fight? And this is just my interpretation, and this is something that I made up, but I don't know, okay? Because we didn't get many flashbacks, but just based off of their conflict resolution, like, style, and the way that Belly consistently just concedes and doesn't like assert herself and her feelings, I have a very strong feeling that they just didn't fight very much, because I don't think Belly like put him in his place very often when they were together, because I think for the most part it was just like light and fun and not very deep, and if she had a problem with something she would just like swallow it. That's my interpretation of Belly and Jeremiah's dynamic. So in my brain I'm like, this was probably the first big fight they got into, and I think and from my perspective, because like, have you guys ever seen Friends, and when Chandler and Monica start dating, and I can't remember if this is after they're public or when they're still hiding, but they get into a fight, and then Chandler's like, so we had a good run. Are we still together or something? And Monica's like, of course we're still together. Have you just broken up? Like, have you just, every time we've gotten into your first fight, you think that's the end of a relationship? And she's like, oh, that would make sense because of how like short your relationships are. Like, to me, that's what Jeremiah was giving of like, I just break up, like this fight. Like, to me, I don't think that they fight very much and resolve things and have like real disagreements or real conflict. And because of that, the first time they fought, he thought that was like, he ended it. He took his love away from her. Maybe not. Maybe they have gotten into fights, but it's just like based off of everything we've heard about them and the way that we've seen them in this moment of turmoil and the whole way that he handles her having issues with things, I don't think that they really have fought very much. And because I don't think they fought very much, I don't think that they've resolved conflict. Like, maybe he didn't run at the first sign of a conflict, but I really feel like this was probably one of the first real big fights they had. And he says, let's just end it. And he's like, you think everything I do is ridiculous. I don't like him. I'm sorry. I'm not sorry, though. Like, you cannot convince me that it wasn't inconsiderate that he got so drunk that he missed his plane with Belly. When you're an adult, when you're responsible, you meet your commitments. And, like, sometimes things fall through and you can't do that. And, like, that's fine. And you're apologetic and you work through it. But the issue with me is that Jeremiah, this isn't the first time. He literally, out of pure irresponsibility, didn't know that he didn't have the correct credits to graduate and just found out at the last minute that he was taking an extra semester. And then, instead of being like, I'm so sorry, like that was a huge mistake, I should have been more attentive, he was like, God forbid I wanted to have fun in college after my mom died. Even like when Belly is trying to, in that fight that I got so angry about earlier, their breakup, their fight, whatever you want to call it, when she's like, did something happen between you and your dad? And he's like, worse than visiting my dead mom's grave. Like, it's always this thing with him where it's like he has to be like, yes, I am a victim. Something bad is happening to me. I don't like him. There's something about Jeremiah. I don't like the way he handles conflict. I don't like the way he deals with somebody being like, you did something wrong, or I disagree, or I don't want to do that. I don't like the way he responds. It really, really angers me. I don't think it's okay that twice Belly is like expressing that that's not what she wants for her wedding. And instead of listening to that, he's basically like, but you should want this, or like, but it'll be fine because we have each other. Like, I don't like that. If somebody says, I don't want this many people at my wedding, stick up to your dad. You don't need to do that. That's not what she wanted for her wedding. She wanted one thing. You threw a fit because you didn't get your one thing. But then you're fine not giving her the one thing she wants. I don't like Jeremiah. I don't like him. I'm sorry. I don't like him. Like, oh, Conrad confessed his feelings for his brother's fiance. It's like his brother started dating his very recent, like, Jeremiah started dating his brother's very recent ex. Like, I'm sorry. That's weird to me. It's like, okay, first season, they've just kissed. Belly's always liked Conrad. Jeremiah starts liking her. They kiss. It's like, whatever. Okay, at that point, nobody's like really dated each other. It's just like she likes both of them. It's still kind of weird. But then they don't date at the end of the summer, even though they want to, because they're worried about Jeremiah's feelings. Also, oh God, Jeremiah's like, he's gonna break your heart. Like, I don't like the way he constantly throws Conrad under the bus. Also, oh my God, in the first episode where Conrad takes a sip of a champagne at the the dinner. It's not the first episode, like the third episode, when they announce that they're engaged. And Jeremiah says, Conrad's getting wasted. It's a party. Shut the fuck up. Can't even handle your alcohol at a fucking bachelor party. To the point where you miss the date that you have with your fiance. Loser, flop. Anyways, projection. So like, what was I even saying? I just got on a I hate Jeremiah Fisher tangent. I don't remember. Oh, okay. His brother starts dating her. You were not in a relationship with her. You had feelings for her. Okay, that sucks. That sucks. I've been rejected many times, okay? It hurts. It hurts when that person doesn't want you. But he held on to that and got mad at his brother and was like, next time you're coming, tell me. Like, bro, move on. Move on. And whatever you can say that, there's a difference to me between somebody you're in a relationship with. It ends not because either one of you particularly... Like, I think there are different ways relationships end. And, like, you're just not compatible anymore. You move on. And then there's somebody's really going through something and it's just, like, the circumstances and it sucks and there's still feelings there. Like, what you didn't end because you stopped loving each other. And I think, whatever. It's also fiction, but I also think that... I understand Conrad holding on to feelings for Belly more than I understand Jeremiah after that first summer throwing a temper tantrum anytime Conrad was like, I'm sorry, she didn't choose you. Move on. Like, I think it's weirder to date your brother's ex than for your brother to still be hung up on said ex. Like, I'm sorry, if you date your brother's ex, again, who you know they broke up, not because anybody stopped loving each other, but just because he, like, I'm sorry. I can't imagine being Conrad in this situation. Like, I have a childhood friend who we start dating. Then at the same time, one of my parents dies. That doesn't end well because I'm going through a hard time, which again, I understand going through a hard time and not being the best version of yourself in a relationship. Not romantic. I've never been in a romantic relationship, but like I understand not showing up for people because of the pain you're going through. And then my sibling, because I have two siblings, I can't imagine either of them. I'm closer to my sister, but I can't imagine then one of my siblings starts dating that person very soon after we break up, very soon after my parent passes away. And I'm the crazy one for still being hung up on them. Like, I was in love with them. They were my first love. Like, the only time I've ever been in love, we were together during a hard time. We broke up because I was going through a hard time. Then my parent dies immediately after. Then they start dating my sibling. I'd kill myself. Like, I think Jeremiah is weirder. Sorry, this is my take, and I stand 10 toes, not one toe missing, or whatever Maya said. I think it's weirder that Jeremiah was hung up on Belly that summer, like after. I think that's weirder. I think that's weirder than Conrad still having feelings for Belly in terms of the context in which they ended, and then the speed in which she got into a relationship with his brother, and then he suppressed those feelings. I don't know. I think it's weirder that Jeremiah, who like just kissed Belly a couple times, suddenly decided he liked her, was hung up on Belly to the point where he told his brother, like, next time you're coming over with her, let me know because I don't want to be around you. I think that's weirder. I think that's more like, that's odd behavior on Jeremiah's part. Conrad and her were in a relationship and then you started dating her. Conrad's not the weird one for being hung up. You shouldn't have gotten into a relationship with her in the first place. You should have moved on when she rejected you at the end of that summer. When she chose Conrad, you should have moved on. I'm sorry. I think Jeremiah is the weird one. I just do. And people can say up and down, well, he said, if she chooses me, you shouldn't have even made yourself an option. That's my opinion. That's my opinion. He shouldn't have even made himself an option. He should have said, this is not my love story, and kept it pushing. Okay? Because you know what? It wasn't his love story. So, okay. Sorry. I have to talk about this. I forgot. I got so on my anti-Jeremiah arc, I forgot to talk about this, which is like, now let me talk about the Belly Conrad parts, right? Okay, so Belly finding out that Conrad convinced Laurel, that broke my heart, but like in such a, like I was screaming, crying, throwing up, like that oh, I love him. I'm sorry that I just like, that's why I like Conrad. Belly says to Jeremiah, I don't really think this is what I want our wedding to look like. And Jeremiah's like, well, you can just look at me. Or I want to have it at the house. And he's like, but this is, I was just excited because my dad's finally trying with me. Conrad, meanwhile, is like, this is important to you. You should have everything you've ever pictured. He went out of his way to talk to Laurel for Belly, purely for Belly. What has Jeremiah done that's purely for Belly in this relationship? What has Jeremiah given up Jeremiah hasn't given up anything for Belly's happiness. He hasn't. That warmed my heart. I love the little flashback. I love the flashbacks. When she gets high and then pictures everything, like there's like a montage basically, and then she like freaks out in the bathroom and says she only ever pictured Conrad after he had told her, you should have everything you've pictured. I was nauseous in the best way. Sick to my stomach. Then obviously the beach scene broke my heart, also sick to my stomach. Side note, super jarring that it cut from that scene to Steven and Denise. I'm like, okay, they should have had that. I'm sorry, they should have had the Steven and Denise thing before and then ended purely with because then we see like it's Steven and Denise, and then after it goes back to like Belly going up to the room and seeing that Jeremiah is passed out, Conrad outside self-soothing. Like they should have just ended with that and had if I was editing this season, I'd be like, okay, let's have the Steven and Denise scene before and then have the beach scene go all the way through. The weird, it was so jarring, especially then to go back after Steven and Denise, we go back to like Belly going up to the room. She sees that Jeremiah has passed out. She goes next door to sleep in Taylor's room. She knocks on the door. We see Conrad outside, self-soothing, LOML, Lomo, loss of my life, love of my life, whatever you want to call it, Lomo. I call it Lomo because I think it's meant to be. Like, it's not meant to be loss of my life or love of my life. It's supposed to be like, you think it's going to be love of my life, but it's actually the loss of. But he said it was, I don't know, love it. Love that song. And that really hit me. But the Steven Denise thing, I don't know why that was in the middle. Now, I disagree with Belly's. I understand why she said it, and I do the whole thing, obviously. I already went on my whole tangent about how, like, if Jeremiah had been more considerate, then, like, that whole confession conversation could have happened very differently, but he isn't, so. But I loved that. And that's, again, how I know that people just interpret the show very differently, because to me, that was romantic. Was it crazy? Yes, but it was romantic. It was like a crazy romance. And you know what I realized after that scene, because people kept comparing it to like, why did you drop out of Beale moment? I think part of me really loves Belly and Conrad's dynamic because it's like if Jess and Rory actually ended up together. It's as if that's where Jess and Rory's relation, like, and obviously there are a lot of nuances that make this situation different. Jess and Rory were in a love triangle and then they weren't in a love triangle. Like when did you drop out of Yield? That wasn't really like a love triangle. Jess wasn't going to be like a love interest again. It wasn't like he had come back and he was living in the same town. Like he was just, he was a guest star. And maybe, who knows, if in another universe, if Gilmore Girls, the creators of the show, had been involved in season 7, would they have brought Milo Ventimiglia back to be a series regular, and Rory would have been in a love triangle again with like adult Jess, but with Logan this time instead of Jess and Dean? Who knows? Like, I don't know. There are obviously a lot of very different situations. Also, if Rory, Logan, like, let's say in another universe, Rory, Logan, and Jess were in like a proper love triangle the way she was with Jess and Dean, then like Logan is in no way the Jeremiah. Okay, I'm not in any way comparing Logan to Jeremiah. Do I think in the Jess, Rory, Dean dynamic, Jeremiah and Dean are similar? I do. But like, anyways, so the why did you drop out of Yale moment? Like, I know you. I love that. I feel like it's like, okay, I got that, but then with a payoff, like I'm gonna get a payoff, they're actually gonna end up together. Anyways, sorry. I will say, though, as much as I am, like, Team Jess, I am Team. I would have been happy if Rory ended up with Logan. I like Logan as well. I think Jess just, like, holds a special place in my heart. Like, I don't know. I like their arc. They bring me joy. I love him. And like, I'm not pro them ending up together in terms of like where the story went, because I don't think that there was like a proper resolution. But I think it would have like, if there was like an alternate universe where like they did something and it could have happened, maybe, I don't know. But I really like their dynamic, and I would have loved to see, like, I don't know. I think there's something about that like warmed my heart. It's like as if Logan had never been in the picture, which I like Logan. Again, Gilmore Girls is very different, okay? But it's as if the Jess, Rory, Dean dynamic had lasted more into adulthood, and then instead of like Rory choosing Logan kind of when she did, she chose Jess. Like, Logan had never been there, and she went back to Jess instead of like, and the why did you drop out of Yale moment would have been in a different I just knocked something over. Would have been in a different context of like Rory stops going to Yale or starts acting differently because of Dean, right? And then Jess is like, why are you acting this way? But it's about Dean. It's not about, like anyways, like that, it would have been something more like that, because I don't think it's not a perfect like one-to-one comparison of like Logan is not the Jeremiah of the situation. So I don't know, that warmed my heart. I think that's part of it. I'm like, I love that. I did think it was romantic, and I did like it. Was it crazy? Yes. But to me, it's like, I think even like people are like, he said he hated Jeremiah. People say that Jeremiah is a worse brother, but Conrad literally said he hated Jeremiah. It's like, to me, again, it's like actions speak louder than words. There are more instances of Conrad defending Jeremiah than there are of Jeremiah defending Conrad. I'm sorry, there are more instances of with Belly in the dynamic with Belly, even when he loves, like, the first time he thought that Belly and Jeremiah were good. So he wasn't going to make jabs at Jeremiah, okay? Because he didn't want to ruin Belly's happiness or ruin his brother's happiness. But then he finds out that Jeremiah is not being the kind of partner to Belly that he should be, that Belly deserves. So Conrad's angry. Conrad's angry at Jeremiah because all this pain that he's been going through to see the person he loves with his brother, like, he feels like, okay, I trusted him with her heart, and he's not taking care of it, whatever. Anyways, first time he makes a jab at Jeremiah because he finds out Jeremiah hurt Belly. Literally before they even have a chance to be something, Jeremiah's like, he's gonna break your heart. And you know what? Again, not to compare this to Gilmore Girls, but that's very Dean coded. That's very Dean being like, Jess is gonna like treat you like shit. I never would have treated you like shit. That is something that Dean, I'm certain, said something very similar about Jess before they even have the opportunity to be together. I don't like that trope. I don't like the trope of like, I'm so good to you, I deserve you. I don't like that trope. I don't. I hate men in shows who are like, this man's not going to be good to you. And not in like a sincere, like, hey, I think you deserve the best and I don't think he's treating you. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that like, you don't, anyways. Like, I hated when Dean was like, Jess is going to treat you like shit. I was such a good boyfriend to you. It's like, whatever. And like, did Jess have his flaws? Yes, he did. But again, there's something to me, I really empathize with characters who maybe aren't their best selves because of situations they're in. There's something about that like really touches my heart and like really draws me to a couple where it's like, it's not because you weren't compatible or there wasn't a deep, profound love and connection there. It was like just life circumstances. And to me, that is very much like Jess was a good boyfriend to Rory. In a lot of ways, like a better boyfriend to Rory than Dean was. The moments he fell short and the moments he became more distant or he ended up leaving was because he was struggling. He was going through his own things. His dad came back into his life. He was failing out of high school, like all of these things. And it's not an excuse to treat Rory the way he did. But I just have empathy for that versus somebody like Dean, who was very toxic to Rory, but then acted like he was doing it for her own good, or like he was like, I really hated it. Anyways. And it's not a one-to-one comparison, But I did love I love the parallel that people made to the "why did you drop out of Yale" moment to "you're getting married at a country club. Who are you?" I love that scene. Like, genuinely, that the end of that episode punched right to the gut. I could talk about the show forever, but I must move on. I must. So moving on to Big Brother 27 week. I literally keep forgetting what weeks we're in. I also have to say, I do not have many notes. I have to be honest, because I've had such a rough few days that I don't have many notes. So I'm just kind of gonna go off the dome and track what I recall of what happened throughout the week. So if I miss like a huge glaring thing that happened, or I'm not super detailed about like day to day what happened throughout the week, I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. I was sobbing earlier, and I was almost like I should just not record a podcast this week. But because I'm covering 3 shows and Big Brother is a lot to talk about already on its own, I was like, if I don't record, like, then next week will be even longer of an episode. So I was like, I'd rather just record now. It might be a little bit late. It might not be super detailed. So this is just going to be me kind of tracking the progression of the week based off of what I recall. So not super structured notes-wise or like dates-wise. It's going to be mostly just my opinion and stuff like that. Okay. So on Thursday, Zach went home. That was his own fault. Could have saved himself. It didn't. Flop. Sorry, Zach, if you're listening to this. Whatever. Anyways, I'm glad he went home, because it's like, I hope people learn. I hope, just like, save yourself, okay? You'll get more than $10,000. Just save yourself, okay? Unless it's like literally, like, you get the $750,000 to trade to somebody, then just lose the money, okay? Save yourself. There's no need, okay? So Zach went home, and I was like, I don't really know. I don't really know who I want to win HOH. There were people that I was obviously rooting for more than others. And then the best case scenario happened. Rachel Riley won HOH. And Morgan was talking on feeds about being close. And she was. I say this not to clown on Morgan, but Morgan's really funny, because she will, like, after almost every comp, be like, I was so close in that one. Even when she's not. Like, the HOH that Lauren won, she was like, I was so close to winning that. And it's like she was, like, out in, like, the 3rd round or something. With peace and love to Morgan. I do hope that she wins the comp by the end of the season. But I will say, she was 2nd place for this one. Okay, so the comp was like an 80s themed, like, slasher kind of thing. And I loved this. It was very much like people made comparisons to, like, Escape the Nether region from Big Brother 25. And it was kind of giving that, but, like, more equitable, because it was, like, less about running. Like, I don't know. I really liked it. It was very similar of, like, you have to notice things about the room. So then they'll be like, okay, which room had more blue cups for red cups? So then you, like, let's say, like, the kitchen and the, I don't know what other rooms they had. The kitchen and the bedroom. I don't remember the names of but, like, the study, I don't know. Both of them had, so either would be an option, so 2 people, like, whatever. I really liked it. I liked it, but it was, like, not speed-based in the same way. Like, you don't have to run as much. Anyways, it was great. I really liked it. And Morgan and Rachel were the last 2. And then Rachel won. And I have to say something, it was so funny when Sunday's episode aired. I was like, I didn't know that was, like, the costume, because Rachel, when the feeds came back, everybody was wearing their regular clothes, and then Rachel was wearing that dress that she wore for the comp. And, like, I think it's funny because so many people, and I retweeted something that was like, I genuinely thought that this was something Rachel brought. And I did too, but, like, not even just because it is something that Rachel would bring, but also because she was the only one still wearing it. So, like, I don't think we're that crazy for assuming. It is kind of like, though, I remember when that veto happened where they were, like, dressed as, like, shrubs or whatever. Plants, I don't remember. I remember Ava on feeds was like wearing that hat thing. And I saw people being like, did she bring this or was this from the HOH or from the veto comment? People are like, it's from the veto. But that was funny to me. I'm like, people just assumed. But I will say the dress that Rachel was wearing, that's more believable. I think even if Ava had a hat like that, that would be really hard to pack. Like, it was so big. But anyways, Rachel wins the HOH. I was thrilled. I was like, thank God it's going to be Mickey's on the block again. Morgan's going to be on the block. Both of them had pissed me off extremely. They both had really gotten on my nerves. So I was like, okay, it'll be Mickey and Morgan and then Vince probably because Rachel's been targeting Vince. And those were, in fact, the noms on Friday. And I was happy about that. I was like, honestly, I don't care who goes between them. Morgan and Mickey had been pissing me off. Vince, I have mixed feelings about him. I really do, okay? Because the thing is, I want to like him. I want to like him because he's gaming hard and he's playing, okay? But there are certain things about him that irk me. And they're like preventing me from fully being on board with the Vince train. I mean, the biggest one is that he is a man and I really want a woman to win the season. But beyond that, because I don't think he's going to win. Like, maybe I'm a hater, but I think there are a few people I think sitting up against that he would win. So I'm not saying that he has no chance of winning, but I don't, that's not even what it's about for me. It's like, I want to like him. I really do. I want to root for him. He just bothers me sometimes. I don't like the fact that he says he's a super fan, but he's only, like, he started watching in Big Brother 16, and then he's, like, seen every season since, which, like, that's great, okay? I didn't start watching until Big Brother 18 was the first season I watched. I haven't watched every season. I've watched every season since. I'll be honest, I didn't finish some of them. Like, I did not finish Big Brother 22. I did watch the finale, but I didn't watch I checked out after a certain point. I didn't care. Sorry. But I did watch the finale. But like I've watched every season since as well, but I also have gone back and rewatched a lot of the seasons. I've seen I don't know if I've seen most. I've seen 4, 6 and 7, 8, 10, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, and then, yeah. So I still have a few. I want to watch 2, 3, 5, 9, but I've seen a good amount. So like I did go back and I watched, I feel like you should at least watch like the class, and I do want to watch 2 and 3, but like at least watch Big Brother 7, 12, 13 are really good. 14, like the fact that he's never 10, the fact that he's never seen a season with Dan on it is kind of ridiculous to me. Like they're like 2 of the best seasons Dan was on them. 10 is so good. Like, why haven't you seen 10? Like, you haven't seen any of like the old seasons? He's never even seen the key wheel. If you haven't experienced the key wheel, then like what are you talking about? He never watched any of them eat peanut butter and jelly when they were have-nots. What do you mean? You don't know all the eras of Big Brother, okay? There's so many eras. I feel like you need, I don't know. Like, what do you mean super fan? Anyways, but the biggest thing that bothers me about Vince is not the super fan, but hasn't seen most of the seasons thing. It's not even most of the seasons, okay? Watch a few of the classics, whatever. It's not even that, okay? The biggest thing that gets me about Vince is that he is sneaky and like calculated, but then he acts like he's innocent and he's like blah blah blah, and it's not just like something he puts on, okay? It's in the DRs. He's like, my game is not good, and like, yes, your game is not good, but I wish he would be like, yeah, no, I did lie to a lot of people. I was making deals with a lot of people. And maybe he said that and they don't show that in the edit, but it's just like, I don't like the way he talks about his game. But anyways, those were the 3 nominees. I feel like Vince was Rachel's target, but honestly, also there was a weird moment too where like, I don't know, there were so many ups and downs throughout the week where it was like people are starting to turn on Mickey. Ashley was turning on Mickey, but then Ashley like defended Mickey a little bit. I think I don't remember. Eventually Morgan starts turning on Mickey too. I don't remember when that happened, but Mickey's so funny. I'm sorry. She people talk about HOH-itis, and that is a very real thing. Mickey caught HOH-itis and it never went away. She still has it. She thinks that, and it's I don't think there's anything wrong with thinking about okay, I want to influence people to make decisions that are ultimately good for my game. That's great. You don't say that out loud to people being I need people to vote the way that is good for my game. Okay, what are you talking about, girl? And I did talk about that last episode because they did show that in Thursday's episode. They are beginning to build that narrative, right? Okay. Another thing that started happening throughout the week, I mean, it already had been going on for a while, but Riley and Catherine are in a showmance. Well, we're in a showmance, and he was being very concerning towards her. A lot of people were not happy about Riley and Catherine and the way that they were portraying them. But he really started picking up because there were quite a few moments that were this man is really, really, it was very concerning behavior. So more things began to pop up and the general sentiment against Riley was rising. That's important to know just because of the events of the week. So on Saturday, the veto is played, and Lauren gets picked to play the veto, and it was Otev. I was super excited that it was Otev. So playing in the veto were Vince, Rachel, Lauren, Mickey Morgan, and Will. Will got picked. So Will and Lauren got picked as the extras, and then it was Rachel and her 3 nominees. So Will was out first, I believe. I think Morgan was out next, or maybe Mickey was. And then in the 3rd round, everybody except Lauren got the answer wrong. So Lauren won, and I was really excited when Lauren won, and I was I hope she doesn't use it. For her sake, I like the 3 people that are on the block. That's fine. And obviously in an ideal world, I would have wanted Riley to go home. But I honestly, at this point in the week, I didn't think that Riley was going to be an option. And if he was, I didn't think that he would go home. So I was honestly, it'll be worse for Lauren's game if she uses the veto, in my opinion. So I kind of hope she doesn't use the veto. So I was I don't want to risk the nominees changing. I like the 3 nominees. I don't but I was also happy because Lauren could be a potential renom because of her proximity with Vince. So I was happy that Lauren won the veto because I've said this many times, but I'm very torn on Lauren because I really enjoy her. I like Lauren. I do think that I'm going to follow her. I enjoy, I feel we have a lot in common. She likes Yellow Jackets. I like the fact that she's a super fan. I genuinely enjoy her in the DRs. I feel we see, there's a lot of discourse about Lauren, which I understand because she is very indecisive and, very, very scared. She's constantly I'm scared to do this, I'm scared to do that. And I understand how that's annoying as a viewer. And she's also, in conversations, she is very, slow to communicate. And I've seen a lot of people being how did Lauren end up on the show? And I think, honestly, Lauren is fairly good in the DRs, unless they cut them down a lot and she is really hesitant there. But I feel she's not as uncomfortable talking directly to the camera as she is shy with interacting with her fellow house guests. That's my interpretation of Lauren. I think there's something about the dynamics of the house where she gets she's more shy around people than she is one-on-one in front of a camera, maybe. I don't know. But anyways, of all the people where it's why, how did they cast Lauren? I'm sorry. She's the least of our worries. Anyways, so I was happy Lauren won because I'm rooting for Lauren. Lauren is somebody I'm keeping an eye on because I feel she has potential and I want her to be good. And I feel she hasn't fully won me over game-wise yet, but I want to root for her. So I was happy she won the veto because I was at least she's safe. She has some kind of power. I talked in my last episode about how I think a veto is a really good power to win because it's not as much pressure as an HOH because you don't have to nominate people directly, but you have a little bit of power where people can then come to you and talk to you. So I was happy that Lauren won a veto. I was I think this will be good for her, but hopefully she won't end up using it. She's safe, but hopefully she won't end up using it. The good news was if she used it, it would probably be on Vince. And honestly, between Mickey, Morgan, and Vince, Vince didn't have a ton of votes anyway to go. And I would have preferred like Mickey go over Vince anyway. Not that I'm the biggest fan of Vince, but like Mickey just pisses me off to a higher degree. So, and Morgan was also pissing me off, but Morgan at this point, like as of when I'm recording this, has won me over. Will my opinion on Morgan change? Very likely. I don't know. The only people who my opinion like really has not swayed on, or like I haven't been like torn on how I feel on them, I think it's honestly just Rachel. Ashley, I've like had a few moments where I'm like, girl, what are you doing? But like overall, I still really like Ashley. But like for the most part, almost every person on this cast who I've liked, I've been like, yeah, no, I really like them. And then I'm like, oh, I don't know. There are a few people who I didn't like, who like actually that's not even true, because I didn't really like Keanu and Kelly that much, and I've even had moments with them where I'm like the one person who I feel like my opinion has not changed about is like in terms of like it hasn't swayed. It's probably Riley and Rachel on the opposite ends of the spectrum. Like Rachel, I really liked her. I've just grown to like her more, but my opinion on Rachel and her gameplay hasn't wavered. And then Riley on the other end of the spectrum, I didn't like him, and my opinion on him didn't change in any positive direction. Like Keanu and Kelly, I didn't really like very much, and I've had moments where I like them, moments again where I'm like, I don't think I like you. Like most of my opinions on the cast have like wavered and gone up and down, up and down. Rachel's really the only one who I've been consistently like, I like the game you're playing. I think you're playing well, and I think you have good game sense, and I'm rooting for you. So that's my opinion on everybody. But I was like, honestly, my biggest thing was like, I don't know who the third nominee will be, and I didn't want noms to change. Lauren is a very indecisive person, and so because of that, I honestly didn't think she was going to end up using it, because I was like, I feel like she'll be too scared to. And I've seen a lot of people say, like, God forbid Lauren wins something during a double. But I honestly think it would be really interesting to see, like, Lauren have a veto or an HOH during a double eviction, because I feel like what happens with Lauren is she has, like, a gut instinct, and then she's talked out of it, or she's talked back into it and then talked out of it. Like, a lot of what ends up changing Lauren's opinion seems to be, like, the back and forth and, like, the time. So I actually think Lauren... And it might be to her detriment. Like, I'm not saying she would make, like, the right decision ultimately for her. But I think it would be really interesting to see Lauren have to make a a decision in the moment with no hesitation. Because when she was HOH, like, I think there were moments where, like, her gut instinct immediately was like, Ashley. Like, I want to nominate Ashley. And then she was talked out of it. And I do think ultimately not nominating Ashley there was better for her game than if she had nominated Ashley. I think Lauren would have been a target sooner. I think she's become more of a target now for certain people in the house, but I think she would have been a target for like a lot of people if she had nominated Ashley at that point. So like I think it would be really interesting to see what Lauren's gut instinct decision is, because I feel like a lot of Lauren's decisions are like she has a gut decision, but then people talk her out of it, and then she begins to doubt herself and doubt which decision is the best, and then she ultimately makes a decision with a lot of other people's input into it. But anyway, so Lauren won the veto, and I didn't think she was going to use it. It was honestly really confusing because, and I understand honestly, when Lauren used, because spoiler, sorry, on Monday Lauren used the veto, and when Lauren used the veto, I was like, well, this was really stupid. I don't know why she did that. But I will say, watching the edited show, I have a better understanding of like why, because it did feel very confusing, because I was like, okay, it seemed like she wasn't going to use it. I didn't think she was going to use it. Then she was like, I don't know if I'm going to use it. I'm leaning towards this. I'm leaning towards that. Like, and then she seemed to decide very last minute. But for a while, I really didn't think she was going to use it. Catherine was telling her not to use it. Obviously, Morgan and Vince were trying to convince her to use it. Like, obviously, the people on the block were trying to convince her to use it on them. But, like, I didn't think she was going to use it. I thought she was, like... Lauren, again, is very scared player. And so I didn't think she was going to do that because I thought that she would be more afraid of Rachel Riley than she would think it was like necessary to save Vince, right? But I understand, and I understand both perspectives from this, because Rachel immediately, like, everybody was telling Lauren, use it on me. And then meanwhile, Rachel was like, it's your veto, do what you want with it. And I understand that Rachel explained that she didn't want her to use it, but she didn't want to intimidate Lauren. And so I understand both perspectives, because I understand how Lauren thought that Rachel was genuinely fine with whatever decision she made, because she kind of led with that. And then, like, I don't know. I understood why Lauren ended up in that position. And I have to say, as much as she ended up being, like, distraught that Riley actually did get nominated because she thought that Rachel was bluffing, I like to think that Lauren, on some level, is smart enough to recognize that, like, Riley isn't super important to her game. So even though she liked him on a personal level, and obviously she's close friends with Kat, who is then going to lose an ally and also, like, her showmance, I understand why, like, she was, but I don't know. I like to think that Lauren is smart enough to recognize that, like, Riley, and maybe she's not. Maybe she really does think that that's a big loss. But I do think on some level, even if she genuinely thought that Rachel was bluffing, I think on some level she decided that even if Rachel wasn't bluffing, it wasn't as big of a loss as Vince would have been. That's just my take, but maybe I'm completely wrong. Maybe I'm completely off. But I was happy ultimately when, like, it was bad for Lauren in terms of her game, because she did ruffle feathers, and also Rachel was upset because Rachel was like, tell me what you want to do, and Lauren was like, I'm going back and forth. And then she did ultimately tell her, like, very close to the veto meeting, and Rachel's like, well, then I'll put up Riley. This was so funny. She says that, and then she's like, okay, Rachel's like, go ahead and do your makeup. Lauren's like, I need to go get my concealer. She goes downstairs, she talks to Vince. She's like, she's gonna nominate somebody close to me, and then Vince is like, she's bluffing, she's not gonna do that. Again, very interesting to see of, like, Lauren's story was like, I thought she was bluffing. It's like, did she genuinely, if Vince wasn't there, if there were no outside influences, would Lauren genuinely in that moment be like, I don't know. It's interesting to me because it's like, did she actually think that, or was it Vince? Did Vince convince her? Anyways, ends up deciding to use it on Vince, and Riley goes up in Vince's place. And I was thrilled because I was itching for Riley to go home. Really, really, I have to say, there was a lot of times that I struggled to watch feeds this week, just because, like, it was making me uncomfortable to watch Riley. You know, I saw bits and pieces of Riley, but I really avoid him at all costs. Like, there was a day before he was the nominee that Catherine was, like, really gaming and talking to people, and he was, like, upset at the amount of time she spent talking to other people. And I'm like, and that's not the only thing. Like, there's a lot there. But I was happy when he was nominated. However, a lot of people were not. And by that, I mean the people in the house. No, I'm not talking about people. Almost everybody online was happy that Riley was nominated. But a lot of people in the house were like, it should have been me instead. Kelly was like, you should have nominated me instead. Keanu was like, why didn't you nominate me instead? Like, people think that multiple people thought it would have been better if they went on the block over Riley. I'm like, what kind of weird spell does this man have on you people? It would not be better for you if you were on the block over him, okay? Please, be real, okay? Riley also isn't like that, like, okay, he's won a couple competitions. I'm not going to say that he isn't a competitor. But it's not like Riley is, like, a particularly huge asset to either of these people's games. Especially Keanu and Kelly, who have won comps, probably more comps each. Yeah, they've each won more comps than Riley won. So it's not like they need him for a specific reason in the game. You are fine. You will be fine without Riley. Please be real. Like, I don't know what spell Riley had over these people that they were like, why is he on the block? It should have been me instead. No, it shouldn't have been, okay? Not from the viewer's perspective, not for your individual game. Please be real. That really bothered me. I'm like, why do you guys care about Riley so much? Like, okay, even if you don't see the horrible aspect of him that we do, he is not that good of he's not like a huge ally to you. He's not a huge asset to you. A lot of people in the house like him, so if anything, he's a threat to you. If he's on the block, and a lot of people are saying he has a good chance of winning, then that's a good opportunity to get out competition. Like, please be real, okay? It didn't make any sense to me. And obviously Lauren was upset. So was Catherine. I don't know. It's kind of like the wilderness. Like, that's not who Lauren would have chosen to be the nominee, but that is what the cards wanted. That's what the wilderness chose, and he was the sacrifice. So that's what the wilderness wanted at the end of the day. Sorry. Lauren is a Yellow Jackets fan, so if she ever listens to this, she'll get what I'm saying. And what's so funny is a few weeks ago when Lauren was the HOH, I was like, Lauren, let the wilderness compel you to nominate Riley. Okay, the wilderness wants Riley out. And I was right. The wilderness did want Riley out. It was just a bit delayed. But in my brain, the wilderness is a force that is pushing a lot of the decisions this season, especially with all of the evicted house guests except Amy being men. I'm like, that's the wilderness, because as I've said on this podcast, the wilderness is a misandrist. So anyways, Riley's on the block. It's Riley, Mickey, Morgan on the block. At this point, I would have been fine with anybody going. Now, after Riley gets nominated, and also in tandem with Mickey beginning to rub people the wrong way, especially Morgan, like Morgan begins to realize that Mickey isn't that great of an ally to her. So Morgan kind of begins to separate herself from Mickey. And I immediately start liking Morgan more when she's not around Mickey. She makes amends with Rachel, even though she's currently on the block still. And Mickey is very much bothering people. It begins to appear between the three votes, it seems like Riley is safe. But because Mickey starts bothering people more, it's like, okay, if it's Mickey and Riley, it's especially going to be close because more people want to vote out Mickey than want to vote out Morgan. But it was still going to be close either way. And Ava and Vince were swing votes. Vince, late in the week, an alliance formed called the Judges with Ashley, Will, Rachel, Vince, and Morgan. And so because of that alliance, Vince hopefully will vote with this side over the voting with Lauren's side, which I completely forgot about this too. But apparently Vince had a final two with Riley. It cracked me up in the edited show when they showed all Vince's final twos and him not remembering. He's like, apparently I have a final two with Kelly. I did remember that one because I'll never forget Kelly volunteering to go on the block during Vince's HOH because they were they had a final two. So she was like, nobody will know we're aligned if you put me on the block. And that then started a domino of Kelly being a perpetual pawn for a second there. Kelly's gotten kind of a break off the block for a little while. But anyways, I thought it was funny when they showed all of Vince's final twos. And I also thought it was funny. He was apparently they were both on the same day. It was day 2. He made a final two with both Riley and Kelly. I think they showed the Kelly one in the edited show because he nominated Kelly and that was all part of it. I think it's funny that Vince probably doesn't even remember that the reason he nominated Kelly was because he probably does vaguely remember that she volunteered, but I think he forgot that she volunteered because they had a final two. And she thought that it would throw people off the scent. But that was funny that he didn't remember that, and he didn't remember his final two with Riley. So there was a Vince is the swing vote, Ava's also the swing vote, was the swing vote. So it was up in the air going into the live eviction, especially against Mickey because a lot more people were turning on Mickey. So it was who, I don't know. So at that point, even though Morgan of the three was the person I wanted to go home the least because she had begun to win me over. Full transparency. Morgan started winning me over because I liked how she was acting around the other people. That sounds so mean, but I really enjoyed Morgan more as she distanced herself from Mickey. There's a nastiness that Mickey brings out of Morgan that didn't sit right with me. I enjoyed Morgan a lot more. And I hadn't fully turned on Morgan. The Mickey Morgan, like my distaste towards them began after the Jimmy thing. That did sway me, I'll be honest. Her distancing herself from Mickey. So I was like, okay, of the three, I would have preferred, like, Riley was the person I wanted to go home the most, and then Mickey, and then Morgan. So even though in my ideal world it would have been Mickey versus Riley on the block, because then I would have been happy either way, I do think in terms of voting, it was the best case scenario where Mickey won the blockbuster, because I think it could have been 5-4 Mickey instead of 5-4 Riley versus Morgan, because when Ava goes in to vote, she's like, I really can't vote Mickey. Like, I think there were people who were more loyal to, like, I don't know. With Mickey, it's a lot more up in the air. More people wanted to protect Morgan over Riley, whereas people, like, you know what I mean? So I think it was the best case scenario in terms of us getting Riley out. Us, America, if you will. But Mickey wins the blockbuster, and then the votes are 5-4. The votes to evict Riley were Will, Ashley, Ava, Vince, and Mickey. Did I say Mickey? I don't think so. And then votes to evict Morgan were Lauren, Catherine, Keanu, and Kelly. That's where the votes fell. Riley was evicted, Evil was defeated, and it's so funny because nobody in the house knows how excited everybody in America was that Riley was gone. Like, genuinely, overwhelmingly, people did not like Riley because that is how bad, uncomfortable, and like problematic his conversations with Catherine were. Multiple times he said things like, we're gonna be together whether you like it or not. What does, that's a threat. Like, I'm sorry, that is a threat, whether you like it or not. What do you mean? What do you mean whether I like it or not? Why would you, I mean, that just screams controlling and abusive, because why would you want to be with somebody who doesn't want to be with you? Unless you enjoy being, like, it's not about them at all. They're just an object to you. Because it's like, what do you mean whether they like it or not? Why do you want to be with somebody who wouldn't like being with you? What do you, that man it's a lot of things. There were many times where he told her, like, sit down, like, he was really, really, really mean. And the edit really, especially Wednesday's episode, super downplayed it. They showed, like, one moment where he was like, I don't want to pressure you. Meanwhile, I don't even, anyways. So I was really happy that he left, because I think overwhelmingly everybody at home was like, we want Riley to go. And Morgan, I think, had also started winning, like, not to be like a sheep going with the crowd, but I think I was not unique in my feeling that Morgan won me over and was more likable when she was separating herself from Mickey. Mickey just really brings out the worst in Morgan. She's so nasty. Like, I'm sorry, and I wish her the best in life. And maybe there's something about the house. Like, maybe she just really doesn't do well with roommates. Like, being around these people this long is making her really not like any of them. But she's, like, really mean. She got nominated, and she was like, Rachel's the same person she was 15 years ago. Manipulative, nasty. 2 kids and a husband doesn't make you a better person. Which, like, okay, we know you haven't seen her season, because nobody would do, like, I really think, and maybe I'm completely wrong, but I feel like a lot of the people who don't know the game of Big Brother don't realize that there's a variety of ways to win the game. And so they think that everybody's like a Derek who, like, manipulated their way to the end and controlled the whole house. Like, they think that's the way to win. At least I really think Mickey does, because I think that's Mickey's whole strategy, where she's like, I want to be controlling everybody behind the scenes. But I think Mickey's biggest flaw is that she keeps verbalizing it. Like, she keeps being like that's not what a good manipulator does, is like tell you, like, well, I need you to do what is best for my game. It's like you convince them to do what's best for your game, even if it's not best for their game. That's how you properly manipulate somebody in this game. Mickey just like tells people like, you guys should do what I need to win, instead of convincing them that what she needs to win is good for their games, even when it's not. Like, she's not good. But I really think that some of these people don't realize the different like pathways to win. Or they think because she's a legend, that means she's like a master manipulator who mind controlled her. Because if you know anything about Rachel Riley, like, that is so far from the way she won. Honestly, like, I've given a lot of advice to people, but I feel like if you've never seen I think if you're going to be cast on the show, watch the seasons at the minimum. But if you really can't even do that, watch a few. And Sharon Tharp said this on Twitter. But at least watch a few videos of like how blank won Big Brother. There's so many. And if you watched Rachel's, which I have seen both seasons 12 and 13, but I did also watch the how Rachel Riley won Big Brother. And like, what do you mean? I'm sorry. What do you mean that you think that's how she won Big Brother? People like didn't like her. She was fighting. And you know what's crazy? And my sister said this to me when we were talking about Big Brother in the car one of these days, where she's like, it's not even like it's just that they haven't seen her season. It's like she's told them many times that she was either HOH or she was on the block, and they seem to like not put it together. I'm like, that's so true. Like, it's not like Rachel is like telling them that she was like a master manipulator. She said many times that like this cast likes her more than others, that like she was either HOH or nominated, that she was like I'm like, you guys just don't listen to her. But Rachel Riley is not like, that's not her game style at all, to like plant seeds or like manipulate. Like, she's been like a comp beast is very much how she views the game. Even like we saw a segment where she was like coaching Keanu, because Rachel and Keanu have had an up and down relationship, which they have, and I like that they highlighted it in the episode. But there's like even a section, like they showed a clip where Rachel was like, never throw a comp, and it's like, that is not somebody who is like controlling things from the behind the scenes would say. Because a lot of people who have the like floater strategy or like the laying low strategy and trying to plant seeds or like whatever, like the people who try to just like have influence but not have direct power, so they aren't like super in the conversation in terms of like being a target or anything, like those people aren't super like never throw a comp. A lot of people are like, you throw a comp unless you really need to. Like, there's a reason people throw comps. Throwing a comp is a strategy. Sometimes it's the wrong strategy. Like, sometimes you shouldn't throw the comp. You need to win the comp. But like, throwing comps isn't inherently a bad thing to do. It's a strategic decision for a lot of people, and that's just not Rachel Riley's approach to the game. So again, you know nothing of Rachel Riley's game, which shouldn't be surprising to me, but it is. I mean, no, it's not that it's surprising to me. But anyways, that was Big Brother 27 Week 6. Sorry that I was not super detailed in my recapping of it. Like, I know it was so brief. I kind of breezed through the week. I'm sorry. I really am. For this upcoming episode, I'll try to mention anything that happened this past week that I like didn't mention, or if things come up again and things are important later in the game, I'll bring that up. But I'm sorry if I missed anything. Honestly, I think most people who listen to this podcast for my Big Brother 27 thoughts probably are staying up to date. Like, I don't know anybody who like is just listening to this to get, I mean, you probably just want to hear my opinion. So hopefully that's okay, but I am sorry if it wasn't super great. I unfortunately have a lot going on. Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed the episode. And if I missed something super important for the week of Big Brother, please do let me know. My takeaways are that it wasn't the best decision for Lauren to use a veto for her own game, but it was the best decision in terms of the outcome for me personally. So I'm glad she used the veto. Even the thing about Lauren is that there's so much up in the air that I'm like, I don't think this necessarily sunk her. Lauren's fine for a couple more weeks. Could this bite her in the butt eventually and like cost her the win? Maybe, but I also just like, I don't know. There's so much yet to happen where I'm like, I think it was a bad decision in the short term for Lauren's game. Like, she lost an ally and she upset Rachel. And also, she's on a lot more people's radar than she was. Like, she was kind of invisible. And now people are talking about Lauren. She also did, like, really well in the wall comp, which was the HOH competition for this upcoming week. So, like, in that regard, like, she is on people's radar. But I don't really know. It could also eventually, like, in the long term, maybe it'll help her. I don't think Riley was necessarily a huge asset to her game. The only, like, real person that maybe she upset was Catherine. But also, and, like, maybe Kelly and Keanu were mad that Riley went up. But I think more people are mad at Rachel. So I don't think it ultimately had the greatest impact on her game. But in the moment, I was like, she shouldn't have done that for her own game. And now, in hindsight, I'm very happy that happened. So thank you, Lauren, for using the veto. So glad she used the veto. So glad Riley's gone. But yeah, those are my biggest takeaways. Rachel slayed. Like, such a great week. I love that she nominated Riley. I love that Riley went home. I'm glad that Morgan stayed. Mickey, I don't really care when she goes. So hopefully it's her time soon. We'll see. We'll see how things go. I'm really enjoying this season. It's been like that meme where it's like, we're over, we're so back. That's me. Like, things are so up and down this season. And I think I'm really enjoying it now that I've kind of, like, I'm not rooting for one specific person. Whereas, like, last season, I was pretty locked in with Quinn, where I was like, if he goes, I'm going to be really sad. Right now, I'm like, I don't think I'd be too devastated if anybody went. There are people that I want gone before other people, but there's nobody who, like, if they went, besides Rachel. But honestly, I think Rachel's fine for like, Rachel's good. She's playing, like, very well, and she's, like, really smart, and I have a lot of faith that Rachel will be okay. But, like, besides Rachel, there's not really anybody who I would be devastated if they went home. So I'm enjoying it in that regard. I do get annoyed at the bad game decisions. But then also, when the bad game decisions end up benefiting me, like Lauren using the veto, not the smartest game decision for her. But I'm happy about it. So anyways, that's my thoughts on those 3 shows. Sorry again for the brevity of the Big Brother section, at least, because the episode's probably going to be a decent length, but I think most of it is going to be the Summer I Turned Pretty. So I'm sorry I breezed through the Big Brother week, but it was a good week, and I'll try to be a bit more detailed next week. I appreciate you tuning in, and you'll hear from me next week. Bye.